In this lecture, we are going to create a new project first. Then I'm going to give you a brief introduction to the editor of the Unreal Engine. Now I have opened the Unreal Engine 5.7. Let's click on the New Project button. You are going to see some templates that you can use for the new project. But for our game, we want to start with a blank project. So let's go to Games and select the blank template. So the new project is going to be empty, but it's still going to come with a default map, like what you are seeing here. Make sure Blueprint is selected here, because we are only going to be using Blueprint in our project, and we are not going to write any code. For the target platform, let's go with Desktop. For the quality preset, let's just keep it as maximum. Down here, you can type in the project name. You can also select the root folder for the project folder to the left. I'm just going to call my project Little Adventure 2D. Then let's hit the Create button. Alright, you are going to see this default map after the project is opened. I'm going to spend some time showing you some of the basics of the Unreal Engine editor. At the end of this video, we are going to create a new map for the game level. So if you do want to skip this introduction to the editor, you can go to the end of this video. Alright, let me get started. What you are seeing here is a default map that comes with the project. It has nothing to do with our project. And it's going to disappear when we close this map without saving it. But this is a good place to show you how to use the editor. First, let me show you how to navigate in the 3D world. You can hold the right mouse button and move the mouse to look around. By the way, if you look at the upper left corner, you will see a tab that represents the current map. Let's go to the right side. Here we have the outliner. It shows you everything in this map. You can see there are quite a number of things in this map already. For now, you don't need to think about what these things are, since we are not going to use most of these things in our course. You can click on this icon to pin this tab. This way, the outliner is always going to be here. Otherwise, it's going to close automatically when you click on anything else in the editor. Alright, I'll just unpin this tab. Let me select the directional light. Then let's open the Details panel. Here we can see all of the settings of the directional light. For example, you can see the transform here. And if you go down, you can see many settings that you can change to affect the behavior of the light. For now, we are also not going to get into the settings here. Then let's go to the left side. Here we have the content browser. We can see all of the files under the project folder in the content browser. The content folder is where we keep all of our project files. At this moment, the content folder is completely empty since this is a new product. And we also have the engine folder here. This folder contains files that are used by the engine. So please do not touch anything in the engine folder. And we are going to focus on the content folder here in this course most of the time. Next, let's look at the bottom left corner. We have the content drawer here. It's very similar to the content browser we just saw. We can see the same folders here under the product folder. Most of the time in this course, we are going to be using this content drawer when we want to find some files in our project. Because you can open this content drawer anytime by clicking on the tab or pressing the Control key and the spacebar key. And it's going to close right away when you click on anything else. For example, I'll just try to select something in the map. And you can see the content drawer is closed. So this is a super fast and convenient way for us to get to the files that we want. Now, let's look at the menu at the top. Under File, you can create a new level or save the current level. You can also save all of the files in the project here. Under Edit, you can find Project Settings. This is where we change the settings for the project. And down here, we also have plugins. This is where we manage the plugins for the project. And we are going to come back to these two later on in this course. Next, let me show you how to navigate in the 3D world. You can hold the right mouse button to look around. To move the camera in the editor, you can hold the right mouse button, then use the W key, the S key, the A key, and the D key. You can also change the camera speed up here. If you want to go up or go down, you can hold the right mouse button, then press the Q key or the E key. If you want to zoom in or zoom out without moving the camera, you can hold the right mouse button, then press the C key or the Z key. This is very useful when you want to check some details in distance or see things in a different perspective really fast. Next, you can hold the middle mouse button to track the camera. This way, you can move the camera horizontally or vertically without rotating it. Next, you can left-click to select anything in the level. When something is selected, you can press the F key to focus on it. Next, let's focus on the camera options up here. You can switch between the perspective view and the orthographic views. We are going to make a 2D game in a 3D environment, so we are going to switch between the views quite often in this course. Next, we have the settings for the view mode. Here you have many different view modes to choose from. You can switch to the unlit mode if you want to exclude the light and shadow. The unlit mode is very useful when we want to check the textures without being affected by the light. Next, we have the flags. You can use them to show or hide things in the view. In our course, sometimes we want to see the collision shapes in the view, so we are going to enable and disable the collision flag quite often. Also, the shortcut is Alt+C. Next, we have performance. In our course, I'm just going to keep everything here as epic. Alright, next, let me show you how to add objects into the level and interact with them. You can click on this plus button to add something into the level. Let's go to Shapes and add a cube into the level. Alright, now we have a cube here. You can see 3 arrows on the cube because we are in the Move mode. You can switch to the Select mode here. In the Select mode, you can select objects, but you don't get to move them. So let's switch back to the Move mode. You can drag on 1 arrow to move the cube along that axis. I want to get closer to the cube so you can see everything better. But the camera speed is way too fast compared to the size of the cube. So let me slow down the camera speed. By the way, you can also just press the F key here to focus on the cube to get a close look. Alright, let's continue. You can drag on the small square between 2 arrows to move the cube along that plane. This is useful when you want to constrain the movement within the 2D space. Next, let's switch to the Rotate mode. Here you can rotate the cube along an axis. Then let's switch to the Scale mode. You can change the scale of the cube along an axis. Alright, let's go back to the Move mode. When you are moving an object, you can set a snap size. You can click on this button to toggle the Snap to Grid feature. Then you can change the snap size from this list. Let me disable the Snap to Grid feature. Then we can move the cube freely. Let me switch to the Rotate mode. Now when we rotate the cube, the smallest angle we can change is 10 degrees. But if you want to change the angle freely, you can click on this button to toggle the Snaps to Angles feature. Then you should be able to rotate freely when the feature is disabled. Alright, let me just enable it again. Also enable Snap to Grid. Next, let's keep this cube selected and open the Details panel. You can also change the cube's location, rotation, and scale here. Whenever you change something, you're going to see this icon appear to the right. When you click on it, it's going to reset the value to default. Let's reset the location of the cube to the origin point of the level. Then press the F key to focus on the cube again. Alright, next, let me show you how to play the game in the editor. Let's click on the play button at the top. Alright, now the game is running. Because this is a new project and we haven't set up anything, the engine just spawned a default pawn for us to control. To navigate with the default pawn, it's very similar to what we did in the editor. And there is no gameplay yet, since we haven't done anything. You can press the ESC key to stop the game. You are going to notice there is a capsule that's quite close to the cube. This is the player start object. The pawn is going to be spawned at the player start when we run the game. If you select it and open the outliner, you are also going to see the player start in the outliner. Let me try to move the player start onto the cube. Maybe a bit higher. Sometimes it's gonna say bad size. This is because the capsule is intersecting with the cube. And the warning message is going to disappear after we moved the capsule away. Alright, let's run the game again. By the way, the shortcut is Alt+C. You should see the cube when you look down, which means the pawn is indeed spawned at the player's start. Alright, this should be enough for you to get started with the course. So let's stop the game and create a new level for our game. Let's go to File and select New Level. We want to start with a blank level, so let's select Empty Level. Then click on the Create button. The engine is asking us if we want to save the current level. But we do not need it for our project, so let's just go ahead and click on Don't Save. Alright, now we are in the new level, and we don't see anything here since it's completely empty. Before we do anything, let's click on the Save button at the upper left to save the level. Make sure you are in the Content folder, then right-click to create a new folder in it. Let's call the new folder Game, and we are going to keep all of the files we are going to create under this Game folder. Let's get into the Game folder and create another folder here. Let's call this folder Maps. Then let's get into it and save our level here. For the name of the file, I'm going to call it level_01. Alright, now we can hit save. Now you should see the tab in the upper right corner, changes to the name of our file. Next, let's go to Edit. Then select Project Settings. Go to Maps and Modes under Project. Then find Editor Startup Map. This is the map you are going to start with every time you open the project. For now, it's the open world map that we just saw. And if you click on this button, you are going to see this map in the folder. You can see the open world map is under the engine folder. Now let's go to the map folder under the content folder and find the level 01 map we just created. Let's drag it onto the editor startup map. So when you open this project next time, you are going to see the level 01 map. Down here, we have the game default map. This is the map the game is going to start with. So we also want this to be our level 01. You can just open the content browser and drag the map onto it. But I want to show you another way to do it. Let's press Ctrl plus the spacebar key to open the content drawer. You should also see the level 01 file here. Just select the file. Then go back and click on this icon. As you can see, it uses the selected file and assign it to the game default map. Alright, now we can close the project settings window. Before we wrap up this lecture, you want to make sure everything is saved. You can click on this button in the lower right corner to save all of the changes to the files in the project. You should always check out this button to make sure everything is saved in the project. An alternative way to do it is go to File and hit Save All. Alright, that's all for this lecture. Let's start working on our game in the next lecture.